Thanks for joining us for our next interview in the 2020 Candidate One-on-One interview series sponsored by Priority Real Estate Group. For those that haven't seen any videos yet, I'm Cory King. I'm the Executive Director of the Southern Midcoast Maine Chamber. And a couple of disclaimers right up front. Number one, the Southern Midcoast Maine Chamber does not endorse any candidates. We are simply doing this series because we think it's really important that you have the information on who your candidates are. And so that's why we're doing this. We're trying to get the information out to you the best way we can, during these crazy times. With that, Priority Real Estate Group is a sponsor of this series, and that is in support of the chamber and in support of you getting this information. Them being tied to the series in no way means that they're endorsing any particular candidate. And with those disclaimers out of the way, I want to introduce our next guest. It is District 53 candidate Allison Hepler. Hello, Allison. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really, really well. Thank you for making the time, and thanks for joining us. So right off the top, one of the first things I like to do is some people don't know what district they're in. So the communities in District 53 are what?
Arrowsic, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich, Dresden, and a small part of Richmond. So
wow.
I sort of look at it as the communities of the Lower Kennebec.
Oh, well, that's just not a lovely way to put it. Yeah, no, that's a big footprint geographically.
It is when you're driving from Phippsburg all the way up to Dresden. Yeah, but
yeah,
I love it. I mean, I've lived around here for a long time, so it doesn't feel like it's that far.
Right. Yeah, driving's different in Maine. I talk to my friends out of state, and they're like, "Oh, what's your commute like?" I'm like, it's 45 minutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "It's just the way it is."
And it's beautiful, right? It's not like you're sitting in horrible traffic.
Well, one of the things I've heard from several people is with so much Zoom and working from home, people are saying they don't have that drive time, wind down time, to kind of get into family mode. It's like, yeah, that's right. I didn't realize I was missing that. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about you. 3 questions here. The first one's really easy. Personal biography. Allison, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I teach history at UMaine Farmington, and we were just talking about commuting, and I love my job and I love where I live. So I get in the car, and maybe that's why the whole district doesn't seem that big. I've taught there for 25 years, but I haven't always done that. I've been a steel worker, a printer, worked in a bookstore. I actually have worked part-time at Shelter Institute, the house building school in Woolwich.
Yep.
And have lived here, going on 40 years. I moved here with my husband from Pennsylvania. We wanted to build a house, and he wanted to learn to build wooden boats. And we were able to do both. Unfortunately, he passed away 23 years ago. I am currently married again to a wooden boat builder because I think I'm a sucker for punishment.
When you have a type, I mean.
Right, I know, yeah. But like I said, I love where I live and I love where I work. And then in addition to that, I'm also, I got into government because I got asked to run for the select board in Woolwich 9 years ago. I'm in the end of my 3rd term, and also active in local. I teach history, so I'm active in the local historical society, and again to sort of do that whole type thing about wooden boats. I'm involved with Maine's First Ship. We're building a replica of a 400-year-old ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. So why are you running? Why this year? Why this term? Why are you? Why do you want to be in politics in Maine?
Again, right? So I'm running for re-election.
Yes.
And I knew it. And again, this was something I got asked to run 2 years ago, and I thought I would enjoy it, but it turns out I love it. Yeah. I love the interaction with people. I actually, feel like the big reason I'm running is because you can really make a difference in Maine, and talking with constituents, people I represent. And we need everyone. Everyone can make a difference. We need everyone. My best ideas for bills have come from constituents, whether it's surprise medical billing for emergency services, a research and development tax credit bill, so that if we can attract and keep businesses in Maine. Obviously, a tax credit bill didn't, even though it passed unanimously, did not go very far this year with the pandemic. A recreational lobster license bill for disabled vets.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's just simple stuff that I didn't come to the legislature with an agenda other than to listen and to represent the people that live in my district. In terms of issues, I mean, I think I still care a lot. I know I still care a lot about access to healthcare, energy efficiency, along with climate friendliness. I think we can do both. I represent a district that includes lobstermen, other fishermen, and so I think that marine resources and being sustainable, as well as being careful, being able to make a living, or I think we can do both of those.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and marine policy. I mean, so here's a couple of things that I heard that I love the idea of talking to your constituents and bringing bills to the floor because of that, and I know many of the legislators, up in the State House, and not all of them are always like that. Sometimes they have their own things that they want to tackle and their own things that they want to do. I don't know. It might surprise you. I don't know if you've met those people, but it's so nice to hear that people have come to you with things that you weren't even aware of, and that you were open enough to listen to it and bring it forward.
And that's what that's one of the things that's been hard with the pandemic, right? Keeping people apart. I know that people can always call me, but I realized that before the pandemic, I would continue to try to go to community events, community suppers, select board meetings, that kind of stuff, because they might know that they can call me, but if they see me, they're sort of reminded.
Yeah.
Right. And so they wouldn't necessarily call me. So I have learned to carry a pad of paper in my pocket
to write down the good ideas. Yes, of course. So tell me what it was like. I mean, was last term your first term in all this?
Yeah.
So wow. So you went in there as a rookie, and
yeah. One of the things that I really liked, and maybe this gets to the part about really listening to people and wanting to be accessible, is that I'm a historian. So I'm always, you find being a historian is sort of like finding answers. And usually I have to come up with the topic, right? Is, whether it's, workplace health or McCarthyism or whatever. And what was great about this is that sometimes it's hard to come up with your own research ideas. Turns out I didn't have to worry about that because people would call me weekly. Whether it was learning about gravel pits, or the intricacies of school funding, or and once the pandemic started, things like literally, how do you apply for unemployment? And so I never knew, when I look back at the first couple of weeks, and it's really kind of continued, but I just did a podcast with the Patent Free Library. They had asked early on, like the beginning of April, they had asked people to submit things about, like, how's your week going, and what's COVID like, to sort of create an archive. And so I wrote something the beginning of April, never looked at it again until yesterday, and realized that my days haven't really changed that much. I never know how the day is going to go. I mean, sometimes I mean, whether it's spending hours on Zoom calls, I tried to find out as much as possible, and things were changing daily, sometimes hourly.
That was the thing. That was the thing I found out, because it's funny. I mean, much like legislative work, chamber work, it usually the results come over time. I mean, in the legislature, you get an idea, you talk to constituents, you write the bill, you put it through committee. I mean, it takes a long time. Same thing with chamber work. The value of the chamber is one business person meets another business person at an event. They see each other a month later at the same event. 6 months later, they do a deal.
Right. It's sort of predictable.
But when COVID hit, everything was so immediate, and we actually got a lot of positive feedback, because people would call and say, "Hey, Cory, how do I apply for the PPP?" And it's like, "Oh, great, I've got your answer right here." And we could be it really changed the scope of kind of what we did. But having that initial impact with people, or that immediate impact was really, really valuable.
Yeah, yeah.
But tiring, a little bit tiring, if I'm being honest.
Yes, I know. When I look back at what I wrote, it's like, oh my God, no wonder.
Yeah.
I had also sent them a picture of, because those first, the end of March before the state parks closed down, but the weather was still, starting to get nice, but still cold. And I sent them a picture of my husband, a selfie of my husband and I at Hermit Island. Because we would try to get out and just sort of remind people that you could get out and enjoy the day. But I tell you, one of the calls that I'll never forget is somebody who, she's 73 years old. She's a nursing educator. She's been a nurse her whole life. She's never even looked for a job, much less applied for unemployment. And I got to say, and this is a testament to the Department of Labor staff, is that I managed to persuade somebody in the Department of Labor to actually fill out the application for her over the phone.
Oh my gosh,
because it's not intuitive, and certainly not for her. So.
No, that's great. So I don't want to go too long, but I do want to give an opportunity. Is there any other pieces, any other issues, any other things you think that might be coming up that we'll need to keep an eye on here?
Well, the challenges certainly seem to be, coming out of, helping small businesses getting, recovering from the pandemic and getting people back to work. And I was thinking about that, not just in terms of broadband and internet connectivity, but also roads. Whether it's going to be getting back to, because with a reduction in highway taxes, gas taxes, there's less money available for roads, keeping the social safety net in place, and then the long term has always been for me keeping and attracting people in Maine, right? And doing those. I'm, I don't know how old you are, but I'm approaching retirement at some point in my life, and being able to retain, so what that means, good schools, it means broadband, it means reducing energy costs, all those things, creating maintaining a good environment. And
we're actually, as a chamber, looking into, we were going to launch these workforce programs this year, and then thanks COVID, and then but part of it was pathways and partnerships, connecting the schools and the businesses. But the other half was some of the things you're talking about was barrier solutions, where
I like that term, barrier solutions. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But they workforce development folks have never had to look at the underlying social issues, that are affecting people, but unemployment was so low, and still the skill set is in certain places that you have to look at housing, you got to look at transportation and childcare and healthcare and energy and all these other things, because they're having workforce implications for who our workers can be. So.
Especially now what we've learned with the pandemic with our essential workers, and childcare, I think is continues, and if anything, it's been highlighted.
Yes, that's it. And I think that's not that there's anything good from a pandemic or a shutdown, but we did kind of see what services we really rely on, and what systems need updating, so that if something like this happens again, we can a little bit more responsive. So well, great, Allison, I could talk to you for hours, but I can't talk to you for hours, so because nobody will. Well, we can still talk, but people shut the video off and stuff. If people want to find out more about you and what you stand for and what you're running on, what is the best way for them to do that?
I have a Facebook page, Allison Hepler for State Rep. I also have, can I give people my phone number?
If you want to, others have, and you can as well.
319-4396 is my phone number, and aheplerwoolwich@gmail.com is my email address, and there's also my, also have a legislative address if there's something specific about legislature, but
Woolwich at
gmail.com. I actually created that. I had a Maine.edu. I do still have a Maine.edu address. Occasionally things come there, but when I ran for the select board, that's actually when I started. It's like, wait a minute, maybe I need to have more than one email address.
Well, funny side story. I can't believe I'm telling this one video. When I was in college, email had just kind of really started becoming a thing. And so I wanted to have a catchy email address that you know, if I met a lady in an establishment, I could give her my
Uh-oh.
email address. And so using my last name, it was originalking@hotmail.com. And I thought that was so cool. So cool. But
So do you
anyway,
still have it?
I don't know. I haven't checked it in 2 decades.
My
Interested to see
husband,
what's in
yeah.
there.
My husband has had two. One was Rob C. Stevens at Hotmail, but the other one was Rob in Rob's world, because in his world, everything was just peachy keen and, you know, flowers and unicorns and yeah.
Well, Allison, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. And for those still watching the video, if you liked what you heard, you know, please feel free to share this on your social media. Allison would really appreciate getting the word out there. Allison, thank you. Thank you to the Priority Real Estate Group for sponsoring. And for those,
Thank you for doing this. I think it's a great opportunity to chat with you and to learn about what you do, and yeah, and to get the word out. Everybody can make a difference.
That's it. That's it. So for those out there, you know, if you want to see more videos, go on the Chamber YouTube page or the Chamber Facebook page. You can find those. And we'll see you next time.